Right. I'll start. I'm Dr. Ravi Samuel. I think all of you know that. So straight away we'll go to the presentation. Conflicts are part of a marriage, a relationship. Many a times what happens is when people enter into the conflict zone, they press the escape button. Instead of getting deeper into the understanding zone, instead of getting deeper into communicating, there are two things in a conflict. One is the matter over which they are disagreeing. The second is the emotions behind it. Conflicts trigger negative emotions, distress, disgust, negativity, stress reaction. So, based on the negative emotions, people decide to come out of a relationship. A relationship consists of long-term adjustments, compromises, understanding. In the long term, you may not exactly remember your conflicts. So what matters is how we can develop certain skills. Like some of us know to drive. How do we know to drive? We have developed a skill to drive. In a difficult situation, when someone will cause an accident, you and I negotiate the traffic and come out successfully. What makes us do that? Is it that we are kind of gifted? Certainly, maybe. More than that, we are also skilled. We have developed the skill to do so. So this webinar is going to look into how we can develop certain skills to handle conflicts. So when there is a conflict, there are multiple issues in action. The attitude. There are some people who like to dominate the partner, who would like to put down the partner. In Tamil, they say, no, mattam tattrathu. That is their attitude, to put down the other person. Also, conflict brings in issues which are developmental by nature for a couple. Imagine, as an individual, whether we have conflicts or not, we do have conflicts. You don't know whether to buy one particular brand or another new particular brand which has come into market. There is a conflict. Then at some point, you decide what to purchase. So that's a conflict in your mind which you are resolving within yourself. The same applies to the couple. Husband may say, buy this product. Wife may say, let us try a new product. So this is the conflict. When there is a difference in choice, when there is a difference in opinion, when we can have conflicts within ourselves, very, very natural to have conflict with your partner. And it has to be based on the issue. not on the person. Many times we make a mistake on this. When there is a conflict, we start disliking the person. We start hating the person. I have some friends who don't like me to give adverse opinion. Recently, a friend of mine sent her daughter's recordings. Obviously, she's not a trained singer, so there were lots of pitfalls in that. She wasn't singing to the pitch. She wasn't maintaining the thalam. Even for a non-musician like me, it did not sound very good. So when I said this, she was very upset. She was angry with me. So we should first of all differentiate between an issue and the person. If a person is contradicting you, it is based on an issue. So do not show your negativity towards the person. There are many couples, if you go to a supermarket, they are in conflict, but very soon they forget about it and they're happily buying something else. So that is the way to move ahead, not to be stuck based on an issue. The third is family relationships. Sometimes the conflicts are based on family relationships. You did not treat my family well. I did not treat your family well kind of conflicts. Also, unfortunately, there is a cultural habit of putting down other people's family members to irritate the partner. உங்க அப்பா என்ன பெரியசா பண்ணிட்டாரா, அவர் என்ன பண்ணாரு, உங்க அப்பா பெரிய புத்திசாலியா, like that they purposefully needle the partner. Such needling affects the other person and that leads to lots of negativity in the mind. Also, we have to understand, if your husband or wife has issue with your family members, we have to address based on their perception, not blindly defend. So family relationships are very fertile area for developing conflicts which can have long-term consequences. Some of us have very good memory. Some of us don't have good memory. Whenever someone comes and tells me, doctor, I don't have a good memory, I ask a few questions for which they will answer very accurately. Then I tell them, you have good memory, but you are using it for the wrong reason. You are remembering all the wrong things. You are remembering when your wife upset you the first time. You are remembering when your father-in-law screamed at you for something. You are remembering all the negative events in life. So you are having this problem with memory. That is something about memory. The more you remember the negative events in your life, the memory becomes very intense over the negative events, but fail with your day-to-day operations. You better have very good memories and be good with your day-to-day operations. Otherwise, you have functional difficulties. Sometimes discussions are emotionally loaded. There is a very beautiful quote which says 10% of the conflicts are due to difference of opinion. 90% are due to the wrong tone in which it is said. So conflicts are very emotionally loaded. I would suggest you immediately go to a skilled person from a non-skilled person version. Like how a pilot, when he faces turbulence, shows his skill to maneuver the aircraft. When you ride a scooter, you maneuver based on your skill. So similarly, you have to show skill when a conflict enters into a emotionally loaded area. Then comes the personality type. What kind of a person you are? Maybe you're an introvert, maybe you're an extrovert, maybe you're a very dependent character, maybe you're a very independent person. All those factors play a major role. Then, of course, others' involvement into the conflict. If there are two people in conflict and there is a third party involved, you can be very assured that the conflict will never be resolved, because third party have different interests and they may not take unbiased solutions. So, very important to keep others out of the equation. The temperament of the couple play a major role. There are different types of temperament that are demonstrated by couples. Choleric is someone who is very aggressive, someone who demonstrates a lot of anger for very minor things. Yesterday, a couple went out to buy something, and when they almost reached the spot, the wife decided against it, not to buy. Then the husband was very angry. I came here all the way driving the car, and now you're saying you don't want it. What do you mean? It was such an aggressive moment. The wife was feeling very helpless and did not know how to manage the situation. And in his anger, he could not understand why she was saying, why she suddenly changed her mind. Then there is the sanguine personality, very optimistic, expecting, even in a negative situation, a positive outcome. These are the ones who remain calm and given to discussions. There is a very beautiful saying, there is a difference between argument and a discussion. What is an argument? An argument is about who is right. What is a discussion? A discussion is about what is right. When a couple are talking, very clearly we can define whether it is an argument or a discussion. In a discussion, the ego is given a back seat and facts of the matter are given the driving seat. Whereas in an argument, the ego prevails. The couples make no sense or sometimes nonsense when they are shouting and quarreling with each other. From outside we can see that, but when they are doing it, they may not realize it. Then the phlegmatic type, who are calm and composed, who are willing for a listening. Then the melancholic type, who are very sad and depressed and given up. They have no interest whatsoever. Right. Let us go to the foundation of resolution. All authors are saying the same thing. They are saying communication. You have to communicate. If you have to communicate, you need to be very clear in your mind, which means you have to communicate when you're not very emotional. All of us know, as all of us are professionals here, when there is a conflict, first comes the emotions, the resentment, the anger. How can you? So we have to wait for those emotions to subside so that we talk about what we have in our mind. It's very important, particularly for couples, to share what it means and how it will affect their emotions and what kind of outcome they are expecting out of it. The second comes the discussion, where both have equal participation, 50% role in communicating. Then comes, what are you talking about? If you're talking about the issue, then you are likely to progress. But if you're talking about the person, then things are going to get worse. Because in a conflict, people engage in personal attack. This is how you always mess it up. This is how you make it difficult for me. This is how you made series of faulty decisions that ended us in this position, kind of a personal attack. So you have to refrain from getting personal, whether the person is correct or wrong. Even if the other person is faulty, if they are not as intelligent as you are or not as insightful as you are, you have to show leadership skills. Dr. Rajiv Thomas, who is here with us, is an expert in management. He has written books. I have shared his recent webinar, worthwhile watching. He demonstrates how it is very important to get into a equation which is mutually beneficial. Show leadership. This is the moment to show leadership. Then comes the emotions. Are you attacking the other person? Are you both lovers? Are you both husband and wife? Or rivals? Many a times people behave as though they are in border and one person is from Pakistan, another person is from India. There is a lot of rivalry. There is a lot of hostility. There is a lot of vehemence. There is a lot of anger. All those emotions make you dysfunctional during a resolution phase. So you need to develop the skill to downplay those emotions, to allow only the positive emotions to play. Like, for example, you talk with respect when you are having a conflict. You may call Vada Poda, Vadi Podi during loving times, but during a conflict, very important to show respect. Respect means respect to the person and respect to the person's emotions. So you have to lay the foundation for a resolution. You cannot be screaming at a person and expecting a resolution. You are only adding a dimension which is further worsening the situation. Right. What is the equation that we are looking at when we are in a resolution phase? We have certain logical probabilities. One is we can win, the other one is we can lose in a conflict situation. But the fact of the matter is, there are people who always like to win. No matter what, they just want to win to feel good. The opposite of that is, there are couples where one person is constantly losing by design, by choice. So what happens when they are constantly losing is, at one point of time, they will slowly start disengaging from the relationship. Even if they are not competent, even if they are not intelligent enough to deal with the situation, they will disengage from the relationship and start having a personal life of their own. It can be engulfed by loneliness. It can be engulfed by separation. So we have to be very careful when a partner engages in a win-win situation, then both of them are in a lose-lose situation. Both of them are actually losing. There is a very beautiful film, War of Roses, by Michael Douglas. If you have time, please do watch. It's about a marital conflict. And when someone says the husband is winning, the lawyer says nobody is winning here. It's a lose-lose situation. It is just a matter of degree of loss. There is no winning in this at all. It's a very deeply insightful film about couples. There is also a beautiful way of win-win situation where both parties compromise and take decisions which are mutually beneficial. I know a person by name Morris who used to be the principal of Guru Nanak College. He always used to engage in a equation where he will see what you will benefit first. He will not see what he will benefit first or what the institution will benefit first. He will first see what you as an individual benefit. So as a loving partner, if there is love in your equation, if there is love in your relationship, then you have to see what the other person will gain. Many people say they are in love, they fell in love, they got into love marriage. Then when there is a conflict, they are at each other's throat. That confuses me. Where there is love, what happened to that love? Why can't they show that love in this situation, in this small thing? So it's very important to get into a win-win situation where the other party benefits, you also benefit. There is also a very beautiful equation that is lose and gain. You lose for your partner to gain. That's the most sacrificial aspect, where mother will do it, give up her pleasures for her children's benefits. Same you can apply to your partner, where you lose for your partner to gain. It's very important to remember that conflict is inevitable in a relationship, but combat is optional. This is a very beautiful quote by Max Lucado. Conflict is inevitable. Combat is optional. So I would say conflict is inevitable. Love is mandatory. In a conflict situation, show your love, show your understanding, show your compassion. Operate from the platform of love. I notice that in a relationship, the love factor has to be constantly be there, like the background music in a film. It has to be constantly be there to give meaning to the situation. Otherwise, the love is replaced with hostility, and hostility affects relationship. Hostility brings negativity into the relationship. Hostility destroys relationships. There are many couples, as most of you are therapists, you will find that following some conflicts, they are disengaging from the relationship. They are thinking of separation. They are thinking of calling it off. They don't want to continue the marriage because they are unable to handle, they are unable to deal with it. So, in the conflict resolution process, you have to be aware that conflicts between a couple is not a battlefield. You are not there to finish each other. You are there to discuss based on the merits of the issue and take appropriate actions, take appropriate decisions. Then the ray of love has to remain in a relationship. The ray of love has to be evident in your interactions. The ray of love has to be evident in your conflict. It's not about hugging and kissing and showing affection. The love has to be demonstrated during the conflict. Only then the love has a meaning. Also, you have to take into account the long-term perspective. The long-term perspective is, if I ask you, all of you are married here, what was the greatest conflict in 2018? I'm sure many of you will not remember. But in 2018, you would have fought like cats and dogs over some issue which you don't remember now. That's how issues will pass our memory. Issues will be forgotten. Issues will be not remembered. But how you handled the conflict will be remembered. How you dealt with the difference of opinion will be remembered. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do remember that conflicts are inevitable. Engage in a win-win situation or lose and gain situation. Always have a ray of love in your discussions. Love will bring respect. Love will take away the negativity in the relationship. Love will help you to bond, not disengage. And always remember, we will not remember in long term what the conflict was. We will only remember the emotions of how we handled the conflict. So with these words, I'd like to conclude. And if you have any queries, I'm happy to answer. I'd like to again thank Gayatri and Kavya for being a backbone for the entire webinar series. If there are any queries, it's not that only I have to answer. We have people like Dr. Rajiv here, Yasmin, who is an accomplished psychologist. So let us engage in a discussion rather than question and answer for maybe 5-10 minutes or how much of a time you have.
Sir, Doctor Sir, I have a question. Like both the parties should be first okay to, come to a conclusion, right? Sometimes like we see like one person is not ready at all to talk in or every time they are very aggressive. They're not okay to come down. The ego stands at the top, even after the, conflict also. In such situations, like, you're not able to bring that person down at all. So is it like the other person should be submissive all the time, or or how to handle such a situation?
Right. I told you in the beginning about the personality factor and the choleric type of and temperament being shown. They have learned over the years that when they show aggression, they can silence the other person. So, as a partner, if you're silent when they are aggressive, you may solve that moment's conflict, escalating into a major interpersonal problem. But you are actually giving in and encouraging the person to demonstrate such aggression. So you have to gently tell the person, now stop screaming and yelling, discuss the issue. If you are not able to do that, we'll do it at another point of time. That's when you take the leadership and make decisions for the partner. Sometimes it's also beneficial to raise your voice and show artificial aggression. Though you may not be exactly angry and aggressive, but you may raise your voice to bring down the other person. Someone who is aggressive and manipulates with aggression will come down when the partner also gets aggressive, because they will not know how to deal with partner's aggression. So you have to try few methods like we do in conditioning to show the disapproval. Basically, you have to show disapproval and you have to say, you're just getting aggressive. You're not engaging in a beneficial conversation. This is the difficulty I face with you. Well, a lot of couples have this problem where one person does not even want to discuss the matter or does not give time to discuss. They try to sweep it below the carpet and forget about it, or they don't want to voice. So we have to, as a partner, enable them to voice their opinion, voice their apprehension, and stop this manipulation.
So,
Dr. Rajiv Thomas had one doubt regarding the personality of melancholic and sanguine, the slide which we are expressing.
Yeah.
He asked you to explain again if you have time.
Right. See, the temperament during a conflict matters a lot.
Doctor, if I may just clarify on that question.
Yes.
I just wanted to know the basic difference between phlegmatic and the sanguine. The others are clear. It just sounded as if both of these had a very similar amount of intention of always remaining calm in it. But I just wanted to know what is the actual difference between the phlegmatic and the sanguine.
The sanguine is an optimistic person who is optimistic to experience a good in a bad situation. The phlegmatic person is just calm and composed. There is no attitude of optimism or pessimism. He is just open-minded, and that is the difference.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Dr. Rajiv, will you be happy to share 2-3 minutes on conflict resolution in management? Because you being an expert in management.
So certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I believe that in management also, and as far as in interpersonal lives and in family relationships, or even between parents and children, there is a lot of similarity. So basically, every bit that you have covered in today's presentation over here, an amazing session. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm becoming a fan now, literally attending all your programs, and it adds a lot of value because I deal with a wide range of people, from the corporates to the individuals and even up to children. But what I wanted to say is, in conflict resolution, even in corporates, exactly the same principles need to be followed, and there is no single solution for every problem. So what fits in one particular case may not fit in another case, and that is why, where you also mentioned about the personality traits of the people involved in the conflict is very, very important, because you may have an extremely aggressive boss and an extremely adaptive employee, or it may be exactly the other way around. And it becomes more challenging when it's the boss who is very adaptive, but the employee who is extremely aggressive. So, you have various situations where you need to be able to try to understand the personality traits of the other person and then come up with a solution. But in all cases, you need to address the situation. In many organizations in corporate world, or even in our own interpersonal relationships at home between spouses or between parents and children, sometimes you feel keep quiet and things will pass away. I call this the ostrich mentality, because that's when the ostrich mentality. What the ostrich does is it puts its head under the earth, and the entire body, including its butt, is sticking up in the air, and it thinks that all the problems have been solved. But the actual problem is still over there, but it's just that you're trying to hide away from it. So never, never, never walk away from a problem without trying to resolve it, because you want to have happiness at the end of the day. You have one single life to live, irrespective of whether it's in a corporate environment or in your homes or in your between your families, in your children and the parent relationship, or wherever it is. You want yourself to be happy, and you want the other person also to be happy, but not at the state of compromising certain values, not at the stage of compromising certain principles that you hold on to. So yes, address the situation and see what is the best way. Like what you just mentioned a few minutes ago, Doctor, sometimes it is good to walk away from the situation when the situation is very hot, but come back and pick it up again when things are better. So, and I think women have a great way of doing it. In Malayalam, we call it the Talayana Mandram, where, they keep quiet in the whole day, and right at the end of the day, when you're on bed, they bring it up. So it's one way of making sure that you still address the problem without really making the situation worse, because at the end of the day, you don't want the relationship to break. You want to solve the issue, you want to address the problem without hurting each other's sentiments. Because as you rightly said, Doctor, and I have mentioned this, taken a note on this also, what the issues you're facing now will be forgotten in the future, but how you dealt with that issue will never be forgotten. And remember that, it can come back to you many years down the line. So it's very important to handle it that way also. I know I took more than 3 minutes. I'm sorry about that, but I hope it helped.
Thank you very much for those beautiful words. And I should say you're quite courageous to talk about Talayana Mandram in a webinar full of women.
Luckily
That seemed like a new version, sir.
Luckily for me, my
adding
wife
point.
is not attending, My wife is not attending. Okay.
Well, Ramesh, sir, it was really good. And I feel in an organization, if the manager is really addressing the emotions of his teammates, it forms as a good team. And they'll never wish to go out of the organization or out of the team. And the productivity also comes very much very well.
Very true.
If I may add to that, Doctor, there is a very famous saying that good employees never leave an organization. They always leave bad managers. Because,
Yes, exactly.
Yes, because at some stage, this aggressiveness is going to get onto you. And then you realize that, you are keeping quiet forever, thinking that the organization loves you. But in one single moment, the organization will fall out of love with you. And they will simply give you the pink sheet and say, go home, thank you very much. So, there is no really, I strongly believe that if you feel that you are being exploited in the management, the aggressiveness is not good. A strong manager is good. Both are different, so we need to be careful about that. So never live up with aggressive managers. You need to talk to them or talk to their bosses, and tell them, look, I'm having the situation and I'm not happy with the way things are going. And then you are left with two choices. One, keep quiet and bear it until you find another branch onto which you can jump, or get out of the situation. But never stay there until it's too late, because what will happen is the aggressiveness and the difficulty you face in the corporate will eventually come home with you. So you will start being aggressive at home. You will start being angry with your spouses. You will start being angry with your families and children. And it's where we say, you come home and kick the dog. You can't kick the boss, so you come home and kick the dog. So never stay in such situations. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All the best.
Beautiful. Also, the other way around, I think, Dr. Rajiv, that if they are facing an aggressive spouse, they may go and show their aggression in the work spot.
Very true, very true. And this is where, if you get an opportunity, I would encourage you all to Google up something called system dynamics on the internet. And it talks about how everything is interrelated. We are not living in an isolated world. We think we are in silos, but we are all interrelated. Your happiness at home will reflect at work. Your happiness at work will reflect at home. And it's just mutually existing over there. You can't get away from it.
Beautiful. 2 days back, I had a discussion with the NASCOM government people. They asked me what would be our recommendation at the policy level. I said if corporates treat individuals as their employees, then they will have long-term losses. They have to treat the entire families as their employees, because when a man has a successful family, then his work output is far better. They said they look into it. And good. So in the evening, Kavya has given me a task. In the evening, we are doing a webinar on classical dance and the mind. This is more on the lighter side, not so heavy on the subject side. This is to understand classical dance and the emotions. And we have a very accomplished dancer, Aryamba Sriram. Very young, but quite accomplished. She has actually come from the US because of coronavirus. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had her dates. Thankfully, she has consented to participate, and we had great rehearsal yesterday. It'll be nice if all of you can join us for that. We will have some relaxing time and learn about dance and see how we can incorporate dance. Last week we had music and the mind, and following which I'm listening to a lot of music. So it'll have its own benefit. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry,
We'll see you in the
during
evening.
while in the starting I was facing a lot of web issues in connectivity, so I couldn't do that. And actually the slides, everything, the content was really nice, Doctor.
Thank you.
Today's actually we should reach more people about this. And Dr. Raju, the contents which you have given, the information which you have given for now, that was really very nice to for conflict resolution also. Thank you very much for that. And Doctor, I have one doubt. Shall I proceed?
Please do.
Yes, you said that being optimistic in all the time is good. Is it really good? Because I have read somewhere that being optimistic all the times, it will not solve the problems. You should be practical, like to live practically the way it is now. What are your thoughts about this? Because I was really confused between these two when I read that.
See, being optimistic is an attitude.
Okay.
But if a situation calls for a negative outcome, there should be acceptance. In not all situations can be very favorable to you, though you may consider. So the difference is you can be optimistic generally, but be realistic when you deal with issues.
That's nice, actually. That's nice.
Wait.
Price, Priya,
Sir, the overall I understand is we should talk it out, whatever it is, and we should try different techniques.
talking, as I said, communication is a foundation for resolving conflicts. Hello, our junior has joined us. She's a very good singer also. She's in the choir and she sings, and I've heard her singing. Hello.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hello. Hi, nice of you to show up. Right. So some of you may be interested in further reading. You can read Julia Woods' You can remember Julia Roberts.
Yes.
So this is Julia Wood's interpersonal communication, in which she talks about win-win situation, win-lose situation, and the importance of communication in a marriage.
Yeah, doctor, if the other person is not willing to join the conversation in order to resolve the conflicts, what we can do? From your side, any insights for this?
Like Dr. Rajiv Thomas suggests, Talayandang Mandaram, like that we have to develop some way of engaging the person in a discussion. The person may not be engaging in a discussion probably because you are very forceful when you talk, or you always engage in a win-lose situation where the other party loses, because sometimes there is a difficulty in expressing by a partner. They may feel, they may not be able to translate that into words and express. So when they come into a situation like that, they know that they will lose with your power of words, so they would rather not come. So if a person is not engaging in a combat, it means there is some sign of weakness. Otherwise, they will engage.
Maybe they might engage some conversation with their friends or somebody else, but not with their life partners, wife and parents, or means.
It means, as I said, they may not know how to talk to them and influence them and win over. So they just choose to remain silent or do it on the sly without the partner knowing, and then tell the partner.
Okay.
So,
Not only the sad issues, even the happiest moments, some things and all. If they are sharing more with with the friends and all, not with the wife or spouse.
give you an example.
Usually, for example, to say that
No, I
if
said
the person has got,
I'll.
sorry, doctor.
Yeah, go ahead, Kavya.
Um, if the person has signed up for some other project or some other new work and all, so the wife will be also expecting that. So the wife might not be knowing, but the husband is saying the same, that he has signed some new project and all. How the
Right. See, sometimes the partner's reaction may inhibit the sharing. Yesterday, I met a musician. I had a session over the phone. He has won so many awards as a student, but he never told his parents. He used to hide the trophies, go and keep it in his friend's house. Never shared, because the first time he won a cup in a competition, very proudly brought it home. The father made a very cynical comment that all the musicians now have to bow to you and you will reign over them, and they all have to go to different countries now that you have taken over all the. So this humiliated the boy so much, he stopped sharing. His father never knew that his son is an accomplished musician. His brother used to make fun of him, so he never shared with his brother. So there are reactions which inhibit people from sharing. So if your partner is not sharing, or if your client is not sharing with his wife or husband, then you have to look into the partner's reaction. When a boy went and told his father that he participated in a competition and won, the father said, same interest, why don't you show in studies? So what happens is the person feels discouraged. When I go and show some accomplishment, instead of praising me for that, they are saying they show the same thing. So similarly, some reaction of the person can inhibit the partner's sharing. So please try to look into it. Then you can solve it.
So one question from my side.
Please go ahead, Jasmine.
Sir, people are not opening up to talk such issues. I mean, like people are not open up to say like we have conflict at home or some issues when often they are very closed. Like how can we make them realize and make them, you know, come forward and talk about it?
These are the people who are emotionally affected people. So if you facilitate communication, sooner or later they'll discuss about conflicts. If you engage in a conversation with a person, after 45 minutes of talking, they would start talking about their specific difficulties in life. So all you have to do is do empathetic listening. If you go by train, and if you happen to listen to people talking, you will notice initially they will say, I am from West Mambalam, I have my own house there, I work in public health center in West Mambalam, like that. First, they will try to establish their roots and their affluence. Then slowly they'll say, in the railways la time ke train poradilla, இன்னும் 4-5 ஸ்டேஷன்ல நிறுத்தினா நல்லா இருக்கும், these fellows. So they start talking very negatively about everything. The government, they'll rip the prime minister, they'll rip the financial minister, they will criticize the opposition, the ruling state government. So very negative speech. Same applies to human mind. After about 45 minutes of talking, they'll start opening up. Then you can suggest to them, you seem to have conflicts with your husband or wife. Please start talking about it. Like Dr. Rajiv Thomas said, some people have the attitude of ostrich mentality. He said how they bury their head and presume or assume that it's all not there.
Yes, sir. First the connectivity, then the trust, then they'll speak out.
Correct.
Yeah. Got you.
So we'll conclude, Kavya.
Yes. Yes, thank you everyone for attending the webinar coffee series of conflict resolution with Dr. Ravi Samuel. And we will be coming back with more and more series, marriage webinar series. And if you have any suggestion, any topic in your mind for the webinar, please you can mail us